early, closer to 12:15, though that would mean really speeding along, but we'll do what we can. There will be, for those who are on panels, and possibly a few others, depending if we have some lunches left over, there will be box lunches to grab to take to the, and the sponsors there. There will be box lunches to grab to take to your caucuses if you're going. I want to introduce the chair and discussant. Did you have anything you wanted to add? And we do have to close up the building at approximately 12:30, and it will open again at 2:30. So we're going to have to chase you all out by about 12:30. I want to introduce the chair and discussant of this panel, who I've known since I was the Harry Bridges Chair in Labor Studies some many years ago. David Freiboth was at that time the Chief Executive Officer of the Inland Boatmen's Union of the ILWU, the President, and he is now the Executive Director of the King County Labor Council. He's been a terrific friend of labor and of the university for all of that time, and I'm just thrilled that he agreed to do this. It really started because he sent me an email saying, how come none of the companies that you have represented here are unionized? And I'm sure we will hear something about that. Dave.
Thanks, Margaret. Yes, anyone who knows me knows that I cannot resist a microphone or a podium. So, but it's a pleasure to be here. And, you know, I could go on and on, but I just want to affirm that being involved in an educational environment, a research educational environment, that looks at the broader issues of, and if you'll forgive me for falling into the jargon, you know, capital and labor, in a broader sense, and a environment where we can really sit down and have some intelligent conversations about the forces that are at play and how that affects life on a broader scale, I think is a critical element in what goes on at this school, and what we need to do better socially. We have a tendency to you know, get into divisive camps on a local and individual specific situation and elements of social discourse that has its place. There's a time to sit down and have, you know, terse discussions about negotiating labor agreements or organizing workers. But there's also a time, I think, to pull back from that and look at the broader social implications, economic implications of what we're doing. And this is the perfect environment to do that in. So I just wanted to affirm that that's what I'm bringing to this discussion. I'm not here to sandbag anybody. But, you know, there are some perspectives that we have in labor that I think need some discussion, and I intend to bring that to the discussion. So, but enough about me. It's my pleasure, and as I understand the format, I'm going to introduce the panel. We're going to have remarks from the panel. I'll do some summation, observations, and then we'll take some questions. So, and Margaret will jump in when we're going astray here and keep us in line. My Dr. Levy, excuse me. All right, so I'd like to introduce Joseph Whinney from Theo's Chocolates, Aileen Carrell from Starbucks, and Bruce Siegel from the College Licensing Company. And without any further ado, why don't I just pass right off to Aileen to get started.
Good. Would you like a microphone, or can you hear me? Okay. Just making sure. I want to say a special hello to April, who was actually my manager at Starbucks, how many years ago? 12, 14 years ago. So it was nice. I saw your name and I'm like, oh, it can't be the same woman, but it is. So I'm excited. So my name's Aileen Carrell. I'm actually a graduate of the UW. I was in this building, I don't know, 20 years ago having third-year Spanish classes, so I'm sort of surprised to be back. And now it's earthquake-proof, so I'm very excited about that. Thank you for including Starbucks in the discussion. I know that it's always interesting to bring Starbucks into discussion around fair trade and around social or around human rights issues. And it's a real pleasure to be able to speak. I know Joe, we've worked together at Starbucks through our cocoa practices, which he'll probably touch on, so I won't. So it's nice to be among a bunch of esteemed colleagues. Let's see. Why don't I give a quick history of Starbucks for those who may not be familiar with where we started. We'll do that really quickly. Starbucks started in 1971 here in the Seattle market. Down in the Pike Place market, it was one small retail store really committed to providing fresh from market produce and roasting coffee fresh to delivery, and including cocoa, tea, and spices. It went public in 1992, and at the time we probably had about, most notably, about 180 or so retail stores. And then today we're looking at about a market of being in over 40 countries with about 15,000 retail locations that are a split of company-owned, licensed, and joint venture partnerships. Our mission is to establish Starbucks as the premier purveyor of the finest coffee in the world, known for our uncompromising principles to quality. And we have 6 guiding principles that really guide that approach. Look at them because they're on the back of my business card. I'm sorry to read to you, but that might lend you some help. But we want to provide a great work environment and treat each other with respect and dignity, embrace diversity as an essential component of the way we do business, apply the highest standards and excellence to the purchasing, roasting, and fresh delivery of our coffee, develop enthusiastically satisfied customers, contribute positively to our communities and our environment, and recognize that profitability is an essential component to our success. A general overview for this forum, to be on a corporate social responsibility panel, is to be able to talk to you a little bit about, mostly about our agricultural focus, but specifically about the business case for CSR. Our CSR principles and mission align with our overall mission statement. And we have a big aspirational goal to be the most respected brand and recognized and respected brand in the world, known for nurturing and inspiring the human spirit, a very lofty, very aspirational goal. And the ways that we look at that is through implementing responsible practices throughout our business in a way that will attract and retain employees, that will improve customer loyalty, that will give us a license to operate, as well as to strengthen our supply chain. And I specifically want to comment on how we've been working to strengthen our supply chain. We have an approach as we grow and do business that is a focus around our middle name. So coffee is our middle name, and of course what we're most noted for. So though we are looking at other ways, like along with Joe, we looked at how would we source cocoa and collaborating with others on developing cocoa practices, we have something called cafe practices, coffee and farmer equity practices. I'll touch on that in a moment. But I wanted to pay special attention to the fact that the way we buy our coffee alone, just the sourcing guidelines, are not enough. That our approach is multi-pronged, that the expectation is that it's a model of continuous improvement, and it's aimed at improving and being better and bending with what we need to do to be a responsible, ethical company. So the first thing that we've done for many years, since we've been buying coffee since 1971, is paying what we believe are equitable prices. Now, just because you say you pay equitable prices doesn't mean that that price gets to the farmer. So what we instigated about 6-7 years ago was inserting economic transparency clauses into our coffee contracts, requiring documentation throughout the supply chain, so we start to understand who is paid what share of the price we pay. We're learning a lot about that process. Humbly, we don't know. There isn't anyone who knows for sure what system works to determine the price, an equitable price paid. So we've been trying to do that by tracking that, putting it into systems, and trying to analyze it. So that's one of the ways in which we're trying to make sure that we're a responsible coffee company. Other ways that we look at a model for that is through purchasing certified and conservation coffees. So certified coffees include organic or fair trade certified coffees. Those are a really important way and one mechanism in which we can connect directly to the farmers that grow the coffee and deliver to our customers who expect that within our supply that we offer. We buy organic coffee to meet consumer demand. We buy shade coffee in collaboration with Conservation International. And then we buy fair trade coffee and sell that in more than 23 countries around the world. We're the largest purchaser of